Here, turn over to you, Kelly.
All right, and I think Sherry is recording this, so thank you, Sherry. And today we're going to be talking about cooking with young children. And if you would like to use the closed caption or the CC button, you'll find that closed caption button at the bottom of your Zoom screen window. And depending on your device, you may have to hover over the bottom of your screen. If you do not see the CC button, try looking for the button with the 3 dots, and it will say more. And once you find the caption button, clicking on its toggle will turn the captions off or on. My name is Kelly Kunkel, and I'm here with my colleague, Mary Schroeder, and we are extension educators in health and nutrition with the University of Minnesota Extension. And today we have a half an hour to talk in general about cooking with children and reviewing the benefits of cooking with young children, and providing helpful tips, and we'll share some resources in our time together today. So if you participated in the webinar a few weeks ago, you heard it's between the ages of 2 and 6 that children are the most picky about the foods that they eat. And this is part of their natural child development. And one way to encourage young children to try more food is to involve children in the cooking. If they prepare the food, they're more apt to try the food. We also know that if they are part of the shopping experience, or if they're part of the meal planning experience, or if they're part of growing the food in the garden, they're also more invested in that food. But today we're really going to focus on the cooking. Other benefits, there's the social aspect. They're also more, it teaches them patience. They have to wait for a product to get done before they can eat it. Even if it's making that parfait, it takes some time to make it and assemble it and put it together. There's also some learning opportunities and what kids can learn from cooking. Cooking is a fun activity, but also it helps them develop some school readiness skills. And these skills include math. So you think about making a food item and the math involved. You've got a recipe, and it's measuring and sequencing and sorting and fractions at times. So it helps them with shapes and colors as well. There's the reading. So if you have a reading, a cookbook and a recipe, it teaches that print awareness through cooking and reading recipes. There's the science aspect of it. Cooking provides opportunities to learn from food groups and how food grows, and observes how food changes while cooking, and uses all 5 senses. There's creative arts, and you can get very creative when making different foods and items. There's the cultural and historical part of it. Cooking provides opportunities to experience foods from other countries and other parts of the world. There's the nutrition and health part of it, discussing what types of foods you're making, where does it fit into the food groups, and how you can talk about healthy cooking methods and healthy ingredients that you use. There are social skills. So cooking together uncovers the importance of being together, working together, being responsible, sharing, completing the tasks, and then feeling confident. And then there's physical development. So preparing foods helps to develop those fine motor skills through cracking eggs, or chopping, or stirring, or pouring, or cutting. So a lot of things for that school readiness. So before you start, safety is key. Sometimes parents struggle with the safety aspect of it because they know that there are some hazards in the kitchen, and there's some ways to reduce some of those hazards and to think about it ahead of time. So some things to think about is having a sturdy step stool, making sure that things are away from the edges of the counter so children can't pull things down, because it's easy to pull appliances down and they might be plugged in, so it can cause some harm, hurt. Make sure that there's always adult supervision. Turning pots, pans, the handles in, and the stove so that kids can't reach up and grab. To tie your hair back. and not to wear loose or flouncy clothing when cooking, long sleeves, or roll up the sleeves if possible. You can think about equipment. Certainly there's all kinds of things on the internet about in stores on children's sized equipment. You don't have to purchase those things. You can if you'd like to, but you can, but it really does help to have some smaller things if at all possible for them. Smaller spoons or measuring cups or plastic knives or duller knives so that they're not so sharp are some kids safe versions. Find a recipe that's easy to do with children. It's short and it doesn't take a whole lot of time. Remember, they're learning about patience, but they might not have that skill quite yet or have it completely mastered. And then clean up spills, because children will make spills, adults make spills. And so making sure that you clean up those spills along the way so that you don't slip and fall or get hurt. Now this picture, this is one of our colleague, Sarah Kreuman's granddaughter. And thank you, Sarah, for sharing that photo. So we see some examples of just being safe in the kitchen. So they've got a sturdy stool for her to stand on, a bowl that's where she can reach easily, and a smaller spoon so she can stir. Her hair is tied back. You don't need to have an apron, but she's got a really cute apron there, and that just makes cleanup a little bit easier. But you could use a paint shirt as well to help clean up, or just know that there might be some spills on that child's clothes when you get done, and that's perfectly normal. This information comes from the United States Department of Agriculture, and you'll find it on myplate.gov. And it just talks about the different ages and stages of cooking with children in the kitchen. And it gives us some great examples, but please know that if your child is 3, they still might not be able to do those things that are on the 3-year-old level. They might be able to do the things that are in the 2-year-old level. It really depends upon the child. And so some examples for 2, they might be excited about wiping off tables or rinsing fruits or vegetables or tearing lettuce. At 3, they like to mix ingredients and stir mixes and add ingredients and help assemble the foods. At 4, they like to crack eggs and peel fruit and measure dry ingredients. I can remember my son, that was the first thing he made in the kitchen was eggs. Sometimes the eggs were scrambled eggs and sometimes they were whole eggs, but it depended upon how he was able to break it open and crack it open. At 5, they like to measure liquid ingredients and cut soft fruits with dull knives, like a banana, where they can cut it up with a plastic knife, or use an egg beater. So here are just a few examples, and there are more, and we will be sending you this link later on after the webinar. Oh. So talking about food safety, one of the most important things that we can do in food safety is washing our hands. And so just reminding people to wash your hands before you start cooking becomes a routine for your children, 20 seconds or more, using your soap and warm water and cleaning all of the cooking surfaces as well. And remember that countertops might be too tall for children if you don't have a stool. Sometimes a kitchen table works well for cooking, and then rinsing off those fruits and vegetables.
Good. Thanks for setting the stage, Kelly. So now that we've talked a little bit about how to make sure things are safe, we're going to get into some different resources that you can use to start cooking with young children. And probably the best thing to say is really there's no one right or way to start cooking with kids. It's like, do whatever works best for you and your family and your child. But here's some places you can start. One thing that's really nice with our younger kids, or maybe those with some shorter attention spans, is maybe to start with things that you don't need any recipe for, such as Kelly talked about, making eggs. Someone else mentioned some yogurt parfaits where it's, you don't have to have an exact amount of anything for the recipe to turn out. Those are really helpful. We have a resource that will be in your resource email that will go out this afternoon. This is also by the USDA. They have some look and cook recipes, which are really nice. This one here is for Fruitalicious Breakfast Cup, which is basically yogurt parfait, but it has nice pictures that the children can follow along and do this thing step by step. And as Kelly talked about, kind of a lot of different things you can do with growth and development when you're cooking in the kitchen. So this actually starts to teach them how to follow directions, how to read from left to right, how to add ingredients. So again, they're learning all sorts of different things by having a fun activity at the same time. So there's about 5 different recipes in this Look and Cook series. So I'd encourage you to check those out, because again, for those younger kids, it's a great way to start. Okay. As they get older, it's nice to start to move up to some recipes that require a little bit more to them, have more ingredients, and maybe have that time in between where it's like you mix it up and then you put it in the oven. So they kind of learn that patience and waiting. A lot of these are foods that people are pretty common, that they quite often make with children. Muffins are nice. There's whole different varieties of those. You can start with just even a box muffin mix, or if you want to do more with the measuring, you can certainly measure and make your own muffins from scratch, just the recipe from a recipe book or online recipe. And again, we have several resources we're going to share with you that have muffin recipes on them. Pancakes are another good example. This one, you do have the stovetop that you're working with. So again, it's going to depend upon the age of the child and what kind of arrangement you have, if they're going to be able to do the pancakes under guidance, or if you're going to need to actually pour it on for them. So there's all sorts of different fun things you can do with pancakes too. You can make different shapes, or if you've ever seen, you can take like, and just drizzle a little bit of dough on the pan first to maybe make the letter of their first name, such as like an M. And then you just let that kind of heat up for like maybe 10 seconds. Then you pour the rest of the dough over it, and then you flip your pancake over and you can see the letter M there because it's a little bit darker than the rest of the pancake. So that's kind of a fun one to do. Fruit and vegetable salads, especially now as we're coming into the summer, those are fun to do, especially if you have a garden, they can help pick out some of those things. And then quesadillas, someone mentioned that is a nice one to do because they can, again, depending upon how you set it up, they can pick and choose the different ingredients, and you can help them make that on the stove to melt it. Or some people will do just kind of like a mock quesadilla where you'll just kind of melt it in the microwave too. That's also a nice option. Okay. This is a nice resource for you to use. It's foodhero.org, and this is from the University of Oregon, and they have a really nice children's section on their website. So if you go to their site, you'll go there and you'll find that there's a kids section. And once you get here, there's all sorts of different things you can do with your kids and cooking. They have different recipes that you can do. And as you can see here, they actually have videos that go along with the recipes that young children are helping them prepare. So maybe if you're new to cooking yourself, or you as a family just really like watching a lot of cooking videos, these are really nice because they're targeted at young kids doing them. And they really focus a lot on the food safety piece too, with the hand washing and making sure they're keeping things safe. But they also have other things too. They have like art sheets, coloring sheets, activity sheets. They have books to go along with the stories, some online games and fun things that they can do. So it's really just a wealth of some really nice resources that they can use. One thing that they have just added probably since the beginning of the year was a section called Kid Approved Recipes. And I thought this was really neat because they actually, a lot of times it's really easy to say, oh, these are kid approved or they're kid friendly recipes. They actually have some criteria of what they did. They've tested it with, I can't remember exactly how many young children they've tested the recipes with, but they have actually had several children taste these recipes. So they really are kid approved and not just an adult saying, yeah, these are kid approved. So I thought that was really neat that they did that. So a nice resource for that. My Plate Kitchen, as you know, if you've been on these other webinars, this is one that we have shared kind of every week, I think, because there's a lot of different things and recipes on that. The nice thing about these recipes is they have very few ingredients in them. So you don't have, it doesn't take a long to prepare a lot of these ingredients. Another thing I like to tell people to do is really get to know your child too, and what you think they're going to be able to do in the kitchen. You could have, you know, a 2-year-old who could be very attentive and can do something with very detailed and something that's going to take a while. But then on the flip side, you could have a 5-year-old who maybe isn't that interested in being in the kitchen and would rather be outside playing. So you kind of have to figure out how you're going to approach the cooking situation. So if you have that child that isn't going to want to cook a lot, you might want to do some pre-prep ahead of time. So rather than having, you know, you all chop the onion together or cut the peppers with a dull knife, maybe do some of those things ahead of time so that the child can really get to do we maybe sometimes call more the fun part of mixing and stirring and getting to eat fairly soon after the task that they're doing. So again, just kind of get to know your child and what you think might work best for them, and know that you don't have to do the recipe with them from scratch to finish. They're kind of seeming like they're getting antsy and bored. Maybe that's time to let them go for a while. And then when it's getting towards the end, you can maybe have them come back again. So, because we want them really to learn to love being in the kitchen and not like, oh, I got to cook, or something. So finding what works best for your child is really good. Okay. Real life good food. We've also seen this if you've been on our past webinars. This is the one, but from the University of Minnesota Extension SNAP Ed program. Lots of different resources on here, some nice videos that you can show kids about how to cut some of the different produce. We're talking more about the younger children here. So a lot of those cutting videos are for the little older age, maybe that early elementary. But again, it can start to give them some ideas. One thing that we're really excited about though with this page is this fall we'll be launching a kids section on here also, where we're going to have different resources for parents and caregivers of young children, so that you can also go here and get some good information about young children. So this will be the site where we're going to have something new, and it's going to be Buzzy Bee's Cooking Club. And you've probably seen a lot of those subscription clubs where you can get like craft kits, you can get science activities, you can get different cooking kits once a month that get sent to your home. And typically there's, a cost to those. $25 or more is kind of what I've seen. So what we wanted to do is we wanted to do a cooking club for families, but we wanted to make it low cost. So this is going to be just a virtual cooking class where things are going to be sent to families or caregivers once a month. And it's going to be kind of a cooking club. And Buzzy's actual name is Rusty. That is the Minnesota Bumblebee, is Rusty Patch Bumblebee. So each month you'll receive a simple recipe, a look and cook recipe. So we're taking the recipe that will be made and we'll make it into a look and cook recipe so that you can have the children, kind of look at it and help cook that way. And we also have a shopping list with pictures. So it really is something you can do kind of from start to finish, so they can help kind of maybe go shopping and pick out the ingredients that are going to need for the recipes. Fun facts to share with kids, and then just kind of some short nutrition facts. So I can kind of tell you our first one we're going to roll out is going to be a breakfast burrito. And we have the look and cook recipe for that. We have a shopping list. And then we have some fun facts kind of scattered throughout the newsletter, but one that I thought was really cool that we're going to share is that a lot of times we assume that the color of the egg of a chicken is the color of its feathers, but it's not. So I've learned several things myself as I've been working on this project, but chickens actually have earlobes, and it's the color of their earlobes that oftentimes reflects the color of the egg. So that's kind of a fun fact that we share with kids. And then we will have a kind of a lot of times a fun video too. So the Minnesota Department of Agriculture has a really neat video of a family farm where they take and give a little tour of their chickens, so kids can see kids their age interacting with some of their chickens. And then kind of just some quick nutrition information for the adults related to young children. So eggs are a good source of iron. And so we talk about, if you're making this breakfast burrito, maybe have some oranges or orange juice with it, because vitamin C helps you absorb the iron better. So children are gonna be able to use that iron better that they do get from that egg. So kind of trying to tie it all together in a fun way. And I know I've done some cooking things with my kids where we do quite a bit of cooking, but there's something kind of fun about having a project to work with so that you can see, it kind of gives you a reason to put together. So that's kind of exciting and cool. Let's see. Someone did ask if there is a vegetarian version. So what we're looking at doing is maybe giving some suggestions for some different vegetarian options that you could do for these. Probably not to the vegan level, but at least saying, these are different substitutions that you could make. And we're also going to identify some of the 9 allergens that might be in those different recipes. So hopefully that helps people. We are just launching it this fall, so we're certainly looking for feedback. So would love to get some feedback from you as to what's working, and maybe some suggestions like that we could use. So like I said, this will launch in the fall. We do have a web address there that you can go to and sign up now. And then when it's ready to launch this fall, you'll be included on that email list. So we're excited about being able to launch that and looking for some fun ways just to get families together and start cooking And also it just gives you that time to get together as a family and do that social piece too, which is also important. Okay, so those are just some different resources you can actually use when you are in the kitchen cooking and doing different things. I also like to mention after you're done, it's really important to follow through the process and get the whole family involved in the cleanup too. I know sometimes it can be frustrating too, because maybe you're just tired and just want to be done, but it's good to get them into that routine of knowing that once we have the fun cooking and eating, there's cleanup still needs to happen. So just a couple different things. Again, this is one I've shared before. On the left-hand side, it's some kids at a childcare center, and that was some kids, they took turns with the responsibility of vacuuming up the crumbs afterwards. The picture on the right, it was actually done as part of a photo shoot that we did to get some pictures of kids in the kitchen. However, this mom was really good. She said that, she had made doing dishes part of their family routine. And this little boy, it was really kind of fun. I didn't know this. He just kind of got up and he knew the process to do those dishes. So were they perfectly done every time? No. Did he do all of them? No, but he at least knew kind of basically how it works. So again, it's teaching that job responsibility and some of those other things that come along with cooking. Okay, so just kind of some final tips when you are cooking with young children. Again, just start with those simple recipes, find out what you think is going to work best for you and the child. Cooking takes time, it takes some prep work, and it goes longer when you have someone else helping you, but again, it can be lots of fun and some neat things. Cooking can be messy, or it shouldn't say can be messy. It usually is messier when you are doing it with young children, because that's how they learn. They're getting that eye-hand coordination. They're not always going to get things where it needs to go, or they're stirring and it might fly out of the bowl a little bit, but just plan for that. Know it's going to happen, but just remembering they're in the process of learning. And I think along with that too is, really have fun and enjoy the moment. It's just, there's so many cool opportunities and things that happen when you can cook together. And as health and nutrition extension educators, we a lot of times ask people, what are some of those things you remember about, what are some of your food memories, and how many times it goes back to where people, talk about, I remember doing this when I was younger. This was a family tradition. So you really are not only creating those memories for the moment, but you're also creating kind of some of those traditions and lifelong memories. So that's really cool and important. So just in wrap up, what we'd like you to do is just share something you learned today. This is a little shorter webinar, just a quick introduction, and then one action you might take as a result of today's webinar. A couple other things is we do have certificates of participation if you would like to do that. In a moment, we'll have the evaluation link in the chat, and you can fill that out, and if you're part of the University of Minnesota, you can receive wellness points for that. So that is a nice perk to this. Okay. So we do ask that again that you fill out the evaluation, even if you don't want the wellness points. It just really helps us figure out how we can continue to improve the webinars, and especially ideas on future webinars. So this one here again was done in conjunction with April, the Young Child. So we featured young children this month. If you have another idea of a series, feel free to put that as an idea in your evaluation too. Okay, this is kind of an exciting time. We're kind of in the transition. We're wrapping up our January to April webinars. I believe there's one more April webinar tomorrow, but then in May, we launched the May webinars, and you can go to this QR code, and again, we'll have that information. I did just quickly look at the May to August list, and there's several that I think sound really interesting that are kind of new. We have preparing your finances for potential disasters, especially as we think of summer storms coming up. Related to some of the younger children ones, we have adventures in co-parenting. Someone had mentioned, are we going to address cooking allergies in the cooking club? So to tie along with that, it's someone different doing it, but there's going to be a webinar coming up on managing food allergies. So that'll be really good. And then we have several kind of related to farmers markets on fruits and vegetables and some of those different summer produce. So again, make sure you check out our next series of webinars that are coming up. Okay, you can find different resources again on all our different social media accounts and our websites. I'd like to give credit to our different photos that we have also. And again, thank you so much for joining us today. Please remember to fill out if you're interested in getting part of that cooking club and the evaluation. We do really appreciate that. This afternoon, I will be sending out an email that will have a link to all the different resources we shared today, such as Food Hero. Again, that's a great one to check out. Lots of fun stuff on that one. And then the USDA has that list of all the different things that kids can do in their kitchen. So Kelly, have you noticed any questions or anything in the chat that we want to address here?
A lot of comments about excitement about the cooking club.
Good.
Well, that's kind of the action step, is looking forward to signing up for that cooking club.
Awesome. Good. And like I said, my daughter, we actually did a 4-H one, and it was just fun because it gave us, we got the shopping list. It was kind of fun to go shopping for those things. And, she's was 14 at the time, and, then we made soup together, and we were making 2 soups at the same time, and we got the ingredients a little mixed up when we were making it, but it made for a good memory. We're like, oh, remember the time we put the chili powder in the chicken noodle soup instead of the Southwestern one? And, we got our flavors mixed up. So it is fun to do. And again, sometimes you just need that incentive to say, okay, yep, we are going to take the time and we are going to do this tonight. So yeah, good. Thank you. Yes, we will share the slides. That'll be part of the email that you will receive. So.
And Sherry has put into the chat several times the evaluation. So if you can fill out that evaluation, that would be great.
Good. Well, thank you everyone for joining us, and have a good rest of the day.